moving on really swiftly, let's get into the next conversation, which is none other than Diana and Bahati. Now, the two of them have had a very interesting parent-teacher conference meeting with the children's teachers. We all know schools are closing. Of course, usually you have those annual meetings with teachers just to show you the progress of your children. And the most hilarious thing happened when they went to see the Majesty's teacher, and that's one of their children, and it was consultation week, and they said that they were trying to learn about the progress of their children, and they found out that Majesty is unable to speak in Kiswahili. Like, cannot speak a lick of Kiswahili. They actually went on to say, why doesn't my son know any Swahili? He only speaks in English. And he does, Diana continued to actually say that, yeah, Majesty doesn't know any English. Well, I mean, doesn't know a single Kiswahili word. And Bahati made a joke about it, reminding us that during the days, you remember the days when you were in school and people were getting punished for speaking in Kiswahili? There was a list of Kiswahili speakers, the same energy of the list of noisemakers. If you were found speaking in Kiswahili, you would be whooped. You would be punished, you would be cleaning floors for a while. And ultimately, there were days when people could speak English and people could speak in Kiswahili. If you were caught speaking English on a Kiswahili day, you're screwed, and vice versa. And I think that was a good thing for you as an adult. Now you're like, okay, I understand that they were trying to really instill my ability to comprehensively and eloquently speak, but at the same time it was such a drastic measure. But now it's become so common for people never to speak in Kiswahili. Most celebrities' children, actually, I don't know that they speak in, most of them are just like bougie, you know, you've struggled, you've made the money, now you're taking your kids to the best schools, and unfortunately in these best schools, people are, you know, from the Britains, from the Londons, you're just mixing your children in these groups of schools, and they barely ever speak in Kiswahili. So it was really funny for Bahati to reflect back on his days and say, he used to get in trouble for speaking Kiswahili. How can my son not know the national language? And they even went further to say that their daughter, called Heaven, now speaks in Kiswahili, but with a British accent. So I don't know. I think it's his children and the schools we take them to. If your kids are in a bougie school, if your kids have bougie friends, if you live in a bougie estate, where are they going to be interacting with Kiswahili speakers? Do you know what I mean? It becomes difficult, and these are the benefits of being wealthy, and also the problems of being wealthy and bougie and living in a nice life. Your children don't know the struggles you went through. They know this reality of, us kids are rich, we have a house in Runda, we go to a nice school, we're picked up by the school bus. Where unakumbuka ulikuwa unaamka 4 o'clock so that you can be able to panda a mat to get to school by 7 because of how far it was, and then eventually at night, if you miss the bus, you are walking home. Those are the days. It was, you eat fare, you know the way you used to kula fare with like ice cream and ice pops and all these other things. You buy them, you finish your fare, now you have to walk home. Such good times, times. But some children will never get these experiences because you've done well, and that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing.
I feel teaching, because I think everyone knows how to speak English, everyone can communicate in English, so teaching your children other languages has to be a very intentional act. You have to be very intentional about, today we are speaking Kiswahili, today we are speaking Kikuyu, today we are speaking Kikamba, and it's been a point of, I'm scared sometimes because my child cannot speak in their mother tongue, so it's very scary, to be honest. But Kiswahili, we are trying, we are pushing P, okay? Sometimes it sounds like Kiluya because, you know, sometimes he talks with the nanny and then the nanny is talking like Kiluya Kiswahili. So now my child says Nipeeko and I'm like, God damn, what do you mean Nipeeko? What is Nipeeko? So it's always a mixed bag. And also, even at school, they're being encouraged to speak English more than they're being encouraged to speak Kiswahili. There's a time I was talking to my child and said something Kiswahili and he was like, English in your mouth, Kiswahili in your pocket. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry. So I feel like we need to change how we view Kiswahili. It is the national language. Let's not associate it with problems and poverty. Like in Tanzania, they speak Kiswahili throughout, and then in high school, you get to speak English. So I saw somebody in an interview say it was very problematic, that transition of you have learned mathematics, you have learned everything in Kiswahili, and then you get to high school and there's now a need to learn it again in English. So I feel like we should do the same, by the way.
What? No!
Let's just try, because it doesn't make sense for you to be a Kenyan and you can't speak Swahili.
No, I feel like the same thing that used to be done in high school and in primary school during during my time, where you would have English speaking days and Kiswahili speaking days, where you'd have siku za mjadala na siku za debates. I feel like that balance is very, very important. But like forcing people to speak in one language also is detrimental, because the whole world operates in a particular way. Okay, now your child has tuseme amemaliza sayo class 7 or primary school, and then they've been called to a prestigious school in the UK. How are they going to survive? Are you
going to adapt?
But how?
Not the first. English should be the second language.
I agree. I agree, but I'm also saying that it shouldn't also be like we cancel it off completely and we only, you know, teach a particular language and enforce that. Let's just do them in equal measure so that you're able to be in a position of you can communicate. I think it's very important.
True.
Yeah. Anyway, these are just our sentiments. What's your sentiment? Do you feel like we needed to introduce mother tongue languages? Do you know, during our parents' time, they used to be taught in mother tongue. And these changes just keep happening. The problem is once you focus too much on one thing and drop the other, you will always find a point of you have to make a transition.